Hello, folks. We're going to get started. Welcome to the regular monthly meeting of the Board of Commissioners held for the purpose of transacting general business of the Township. Today's date is January 8th, 2025. Happy New Year. The meeting is being held in the Springfield Township building and is also being offered in a live streaming feature. The meeting will also be made available on the Township's website beginning tomorrow morning. Comments will not be accepted remotely during the meeting, but instructions for submitting public comment in advance of tonight's meeting were provided as part of the posted agenda. Mr. Taylor, if you could summarize any public comment received prior to.
No public comments were received, Mr. President.
Great, thank you. Please stand and join the Board of Commissioners in a moment of silent reflection to honor the servicemen and women who place themselves in harm's way in order to help preserve our safety at home and overseas. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing for the Macarena. I would entertain a motion dispensing with the reading of the minutes of the previous meeting as written and recorded in the official minute book of the Township.
I'll make that motion.
The motion, is there a second? Questions or comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Please record a unanimous vote. We have all of our commissioners here this evening. And let's see. Quick announcement before we get to our public comment portion. The Board of Commissioners conducted an executive session as part of its January 6, 2025 workshop meeting to discuss two litigation matters. And at this time, the board is now open to comments or questions from the public. The board draws particular attention to those items listed on the agenda this evening. Please be advised that once the committee reports begin, the board can no longer accept questions from the floor. At the conclusion of the committee reports, public comments will once again be accepted. However, official action on those issues listed on the agenda will have already taken place. Therefore, if you wish to comment on an agenda item, now would be the appropriate time. And if you come to the mic, please start with your name and address.
Hello, Joy Berkey, 100 College Avenue in Flowertown. So I'm here to further discuss the energy transition plan, which we discussed on Monday evening. So I'm confused about the questions. I never come on Wednesday, sorry. Will you be able to, will you ask me questions if you have them while you're doing the plan, or how does that work?
Not once we go into the committee reports. We can have a debate among the commissioners, but once there's a motion on the floor, we can't engage with the public.
Okay.
So, but we can, if anyone has any questions for Joy on it, we can certainly ask you now.
Okay,
And you know what, you can engage with the public.
Okay.
They are not supposed to
Okay.
engage with you. So if you want to ask Joy a question, when the agenda item comes up, they can answer.
okay.
Great.
Thanks.
Great, thank you, Joy. Any other questions or comments? Okay. We'll now go to committee reports. And I will start as the chairman of the Public Safety Committee. I have a two-part motion that we can vote on together. This is regarding the parking restrictions on Oak Road. I move that the Board of Commissioners amend the Springfield Township Code, Section 107-33, Schedule 10, Parking Time Limited, and Section 107-35, Schedule 12, Special Parking Zones, by repealing the existing parking regulations on the east side of Oak Road, from Northwestern Avenue to its terminus. Additionally, I move that the Board of Commissioners amend the Springfield Township Code, Section 107-32, Schedule 9, Parking Prohibited, subsection A in Erdenheim, by establishing a no parking zone on the east side of Oak Road from Northwestern Avenue to its terminus. The effect of these two motions will be to create a no parking zone along the east side of Oak Road as recommended by the police department to relieve congestion created by cars parking on both sides of the narrow street. So those are my motions. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, any questions or comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Please record a unanimous vote. And that concludes my report. So we will go to The Chairman of the Community Development Committee, Commissioner Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm reporting on the Planning Commission this evening. On December the 11th, 2024, Board of Commissioners was notified that George Schaefer has found it necessary to resign his position as a member of the Springfield Township Planning Commission. Mr. Schaefer has been a member of the Planning Commission since 2009. And the board thanks Mr. Schaefer for contributing his time and talents to the Springfield Township community. As a result of Mr. Schaefer's resignation, a vacancy now exists as a member of the Springfield Township Planning Commission. The Planning Commission makes recommendations to the Board of Commissioners on all land development and subdivision applications that are submitted to the township, and plays an important role in developing the township's comprehensive land use plan, as well as keeping the subdivision and land development codes up to date and in compliance with the Pennsylvania Municipality Planning Code, the MPC. Anyone interested in serving on the Planning Commission should submit a cover letter and or resume to the attention of Michael Taylor, Township Manager, 1510 Apen Mill Road, Winmore, PA, or via email at mtaylor@springfieldmontco.org. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. We'll now go to the Chairman of the Administrative Fiscal Affairs and Zoning Committee, Commissioner Cobb.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, regarding the bill listing, I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the December check reconciliation in the amount of $624,845.19 and the January bill listing in the amount of $465,122.05. That's my motion.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Please record a unanimous vote.
Great. Regarding our township solicitor, I move that the Board of Commissioners appoint James J. Garrity and Andrew the Hammer Frameth of Whistler Pearlstein LLP of townships as township solicitors. Both Mr. Garrity and Mr. Frameth have been recognized multiple times as best lawyers by the Best Lawyers in America for land use, zoning, real estate, and municipal law, are each three-time runner-ups to Hottest Attorney in Municipal Esquire magazine, and represent various township, borough, municipal authority, and zoning hearing board clients. Just runner-ups, though.
Just runner.
Could never get a vote. So I move that we reappoint them as township solicitors, and that's my motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? I'm afraid to make the comments I want to make. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Please record a unanimous vote.
And finally, regarding the zoning hearing board for the month of January, sadly, the zoning hearing board for Springfield Township has been canceled as no new petitions were received during the preceding month. The next meeting of the zoning hearing board is scheduled for Monday, February 24th at the Springfield Township Administration Building. That's my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Cobb. We'll go to the Chairwoman of the Parks and Recreational Resources Committee,
Thank you,
Commissioner Retsavan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two motions before you today. First, I move that the Board of Commissioners authorize the appropriate township officials to execute the land use agreements with the Springfield Little League Baseball and Springfield Little League Softball organizations for the use of specified township facilities. The agreements set forth the obligations of the two organizations with respect to permitted uses, maintenance obligations, land improvements, parking, and insurance requirements. The terms of both agreements shall be January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2025. Prior to executing the agreements, they shall be reviewed and placed in a form acceptable to the township solicitor. That is my motion.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments?
I guess my question is to Mr. Garrity is, have you had a chance to look at the agreement, or is it just that you'll look at it before it's executed and, we'll just kind of rely on your, ability to determine that, we're covered in all ways we need to?
I have
I have been given all the comments that were made on Monday night's meeting, and I thought that I could take care of it and get to it yesterday or today, and I could. So it's my bad, but I will, and that's why I think Mike phrased the motion in this way, but I will get to it, I believe, either tomorrow or Friday, so. in this.
And just to clarify, you had reviewed it prior to Monday.
Yes.
We're just talking about the changes that we talked about Monday.
That is.
And I had talked to Carolyn earlier and just said, we'll tweak that. There's really nothing major there. But we don't have to meet again or vote again on it.
Right.
We'll just do it.
All the-
So. Yep. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Please record a unanimous vote.
Thank you. The next motion I have is regarding the Recreation Center Master Plan. I move that the Board of Commissioners authorize an amendment to the existing agreement with MKSD Architects to include construction estimating services to be performed by Boyle Construction Incorporated for a fee not to exceed $9,225. The scope of work shall include the maintenance and repair costs associated with the existing facilities, as well as 2 site and building schemes associated with construction of a new facility. MKSD solicited proposals from 3 estimating firms, and Boyle Construction submitted the least costly proposal. That is my motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
And finally,
Please
and,
record a unanimous vote.
oh, sorry. And finally, and related to the Recreation Center Master Plan, the board would also like to announce that at the February 12, 2025 business meeting of the Board of Commissioners, that's the Wednesday meeting next month, the board will receive a presentation from MKSD on the results of their data collection and community engagement efforts for the Recreation Center Master Plan project. Really looking forward to hearing what they've received so far. And there is still time for the committee members of that committee to comment and make notes ahead of that meeting. So if you know any of those individuals and still have some comments, please feel free to share. And we look forward to hearing from MKSD on February 12th. And so concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Retzlaff. We'll now go to the Chairman of the Environmental Resources Committee, Commissioner May.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll begin with the recycling report. During the month of December 2024, Springfield Township residents recycled 176.8 tons of material with a householder participation rate of 79.4%. The net cost for the month was $17,073.07. And I believe that was a little bit of an uptick in the participation rate, which is nice. Next, refuse and recycling containers. The Board of Commissioners would like to remind residents that household refuse and recycling containers may not be larger than 32 gallons in size or 50 pounds in weight when full. Oversized and overweight containers present a hazard to employees and increase the risk of injury. The longstanding regulations were developed by the Director of Risk Control for the Township's Workers' Compensation Insurance Carrier to reduce work-related injuries and insurance claims. Township residents may purchase appropriately sized refuse and or recycling containers at any hardware or home improvement store or online retailer. Recycling containers are also available for purchase at the Township Administration Building at a cost of $25 each between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. So just abiding by that would be great. I know Commissioner McNamara's son is often working on those trucks as well. So we'd like to not destroy his back before he can even be of legal drinking age. Next up is a motion.
Commissioner May, can I ask a quick question? Can a resident buy just a yellow lid?
To identify it as, and it seems that the yellow lid would suffice to identify it as the recycling can.
Right, but can they buy just a?
Oh, just the lid from the township? All
$5.
$5. Okay,
right, $5. There you go.
there you
All right,
Thank you.
one
That's news to me.
thing to learn on. All right, so next up is
Mhm.
the motion regarding the energy transition plan. I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt the Springfield Township Renewable Energy Transition Plan for municipal operations. The plan is consistent with the Board of Commissioners' 2019 commitment to make Springfield Township a clean energy community by reducing and eventually eliminating dependence on fossil fuels by transitioning to 100% renewable energy for municipal operations by 2035 and transitioning to 100% renewable energy for transportation and heating by 2050. It is anticipated that the plan will be updated annually to reflect changes in technology and evolving renewable energy markets. The board would like to thank the volunteer members of the Township's Environmental Advisory Commission for their efforts. In particular, we have Joy Berge here with us. I would also like to just highlight, this is regarding our municipal buildings. It's not a mandate or a plan to make everybody have, solar or geothermal heating in all their homes across the township. I mean, that would be a nice objective, but that's not what we're dealing with at this time. This is also a non-binding plan, so we're not required to do any of it. But, it has been our commitment since 2019. It's been something we've been aspiring to do, and it's difficult to reach a goal without a plan. And now we have one. I think there's been a lot of great thought put into it, and a lot of input from Mike Taylor, Ian Hammer from Public Works, where I think we've gotten ourselves to a very reasonable place. And as it mentions, we can revise over time as different things happen, because, some of it relies on subsidies and other things that are coming from the federal government or the state government. And obviously, those things can change. They can, become less or they can become more. And I think when we look back, even just 10 years ago, the idea that we'd have this many hybrid cars out here and a fully electric car out here probably would have seemed unattainable, but yet here we are. And so, I think this plan will really help us towards the dream that we have here to make ourselves operating on all renewables.
Okay, so I'm hearing that motion, and is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments?
I have questions and comments.
Sure.
First of all, I want to commend the committee for their good work on this plan. I know it's been many, many years in the process. And in fact, early on, I was part of this with regard to my position as the liaison for the EAC. And for the most part, I agree with most of the stuff that's in the transition plan. What I really object to, though, is the concept of the township becoming a utility company. A close reading of the plan clearly, I believe, outlines the desire or the requirement that the township start generating 100% of its own power in order to light and fuel the facilities that we're in. I think that's an impractical idea and one that I cannot support. But I do certainly support the concept of the transition to hybrid or all electric vehicles and or equipment that the township, runs in their normal course of activity. But I will not be supporting the plan for those reasons. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Just curious, are you pointing to something specific that would decommission access to the greater utility grid? In the document? I guess I just I didn't have that takeaway, so I just want to be sure if I missed something, I want to be, sorry. Just to be clear, is there something in here that you can point to that says that we're decommissioning access to the greater utility grid? And if that's what's going on, I just want to understand where you're getting that from, this document.
I guess the question is, will we no longer be attached to the energy grid, like no longer be attached to PICO in any way, shape, or form?
Okay, sorry, I couldn't quite hear you. Oh, no, we will still maintain our full connection. We'll still be part of the grid. I mean, we'll need the grid as backup for as far as I can see into the
And
future.
I guess I really feel like it's question to Commissioner Wilson. Is there something that I missed? It's possible I missed it. I want to be sure if that's what it's saying and we can correct that. Pete, talk about
Questions to you.
the question is to you. If there's something in here we missed that says that we're going to be completely off the energy grid, the greater grid.
Yep.
Is it in there? And can we correct that if that's what it is?
No, I don't think it's in there. I think that they always intended to maintain the connection with the greater utility, yeah.
So how then, what's the problem, I guess? I just want to, be mindful
Sure.
of your problem, and if we can correct it,
Sure, sure.
should do that, if you otherwise wish to.
So my
Approve of
recollection
this.
is that when we started this process many years ago and there were some cost estimates thrown around, the requirement was going to be that basically almost every square inch of the roof of this building and the adjoining buildings were going to be covered with solar panels. And that was to meet the current needs of the township. There were also assumptions made with regard to grants that would be available, federally, and the fact that we might be entitled to a 30% credit regarding the dollars that we spent on the equipment that was put in place to service this. In my opinion, it was very, very marginal back then. And I don't think that the regulatory climate is going to get any easier for these types of installations, nor, and if you listen to the news and what they're talking about with regard to new tariffs on solar panels that are primarily at this point in time made overseas in China, primarily. To me, the concept of us being able to economically produce the necessary power that we're talking about here is just not, it's not practical, my point. So to answer your question, we would have to rely on the interconnection of the current utility that we're PICO with.
And where there's simply a clause that said, where it is economical, would that be sufficient to assuage your concerns? Because part of the goals
Well,
that we edited was to make it more economic. I just want to be sure that your concerns are heard and addressed.
Yeah, I don't think we have yet to flush out the total costs of an installation of this magnitude for the township. Nor do I believe that we have, flushed out the willingness of the taxpayers to support this financial load going forward. So,
I think Joy might have
Wanna
some
clarify?
input.
Well, I just want to add something and I'll direct the question at you. So you would cover this, Brendan, but just to be clear for everyone, this is an aspirational document
Mhm.
that is a roadmap
Mhm.
and guidelines to what we aspire to do. Nowhere in here does it commit to any specific project. So we are considering a solar panel project. We've met several times. We've talked to some experts. If that turns out not to be economical, if it
Right.
turns out not to be effective and a good investment, this document does not mandate or compel
Absolutely.
us to do that in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
Every single action that can be taken in the spirit of this agreement stands on its own merits and will be voted upon and have public hearings on their own merits. So there's nothing in this document that is mandating to say we're doing this project or that project or replacing. It's sort of a roadmap that annually might change as even the language talks about as technologies emerge, or what's the opposite of emerge? Demerge? But it's a set of guidelines, and every project stands on its own.
And may I just highlight that your point that any of those projects would not only be discussed independently of each other, but also with opportunity for public input, where people's willingness to spend taxpayers' money or people's agreement or disagreements about the validity of such plans there'd be plenty of space for that.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen without that process.
So is that accurate, Joy, in terms of it being aspirational?
Absolutely. That's the full intention and understanding of the Environmental Advisory Commission. May I make a comment in response to Commissioner Wilson? Is that?
Sure.
Thanks. And I totally respect your views and opinions on this. I would say a couple of things. Whatever cost numbers we had, as you said, years ago, everything's changed in the solar world. So I think that's there, we have newer numbers. This small task force that includes Mr. Taylor, Commissioners Lee and May, and Mr. Lloyd and others, we've gotten much newer numbers, and there's a payoff in relatively short years, and then going to solar becomes a revenue generator for the township, as well as avoiding the costs of buying fossil fuels to heat and light the buildings. We can also actually generate some revenue. But we're looking at all those numbers.
Go ahead.
I have a question on that, and this is just a hypothetical. So, and, you know, we are most likely gonna have to discuss and vote on these things in the future as they come about, but what happens when and if we install a solar array and a cheaper source of energy like nuclear comes along? Then are we in a position where we're losing money because it's a cheaper energy source?
Well, it's impossible to know the future, but I think that it is, I think it's unlikely that it's going to be a financial loser for us. I just think once we get them up, assuming we vote on it and get them up there, we're going to start saving money on day one. And I think.
I just want to quickly piggyback on Mr. Mays talking about, if you want to meet a goal, you need to make a plan. One element of this is being a foundation for grants and other economic opportunities that we could achieve by having some of these ducks in a row, and this seems to be one of them. And it's, follows on that 2019 commitment as well. I think noting that it's aspirational is important. And I don't take issue except for unless it's purely to say that we're, for any reason here, wish to be off the greater grid. We could edit that, but that would be my suggestion if that's the concern. If that's not the concern, I don't take issue.
And I asked a question Monday about, has there been any initiatives in this vein that have not been fruitful? And I think everything that this board has done, starting with the LED lights, and I think, Peter, you were the only probably commissioner that was active when that happened, but when we replaced all the street lights with LEDs, that's paid for itself. I think a little quicker than the pro forma was, or close. But it was definitely worth doing.
Oh, yeah.
Any money that we've spent on energy audits or reviews have paid off. Certainly the hybrid vehicles have been a financial plus. And none of that even takes into account any of the emissions that we've saved, just from going. So financially, everything that the board has done in terms of the Ready for 100, which was the previous plan that was adopted, has been a winner.
Absolutely. Yes.
Just to add, Susie had mentioned that in terms of putting us in a better position to perhaps get grants towards some of these things that a plan like this would need to, or would perhaps help us. Could we also clarify that it not only helps us, but in some cases is required, that some grants that we might apply for that would pay for portions of these projects require a transition plan in place?
I don't know that we can quite go that far. What I mentioned the other night is that we have applied for the state grant for the Shared Energy Manager program, and it is verified that our likelihood increases by having an energy transition plan in place. So that was confirmed for our situation by Department of Environmental Protection.
And we had applied for that previously, but did not have an energy transition.
Yes.
Plan at the time, and so therefore did not get it.
Right. 2023.
Yeah, so now we're hopeful and optimistic that if we can get this plan in place, that we can
Right.
reapply and perhaps get that.
Right.
Any other questions, comments? All right, we had a motion, we had a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay? Nay. Please record a 6-1 vote.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you, Joy. Does that conclude your report, Commissioner
That
Matt?
does conclude my report. Thank you.
Great. We'll go to the Chairwoman of the Public Works and Facilities Committee, Commissioner McNamara.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening, I have no report.
That's great, because I got a football playoff fantasy football draft coming up, and we will now go to the Chairman of the Cultural Resources Committee, Commissioner Morris.
All right, that's it.
I have no report, for this evening.
Thank you as well. Well, the board is now once again open to receiving public comment.
Mary Ellen Reeves, Station Avenue. I applaud your electric or energy. I drive a hybrid. I'm about to get an EV. So I do applaud that. And I'm just looking for the cost savings online. And is that part of the practical energy solutions from the LED project? Where can I find those cost savings that you mentioned?
We have
Here?
reported on that sometime in the last few months, so it's probably part of one of our agenda packets, but we could certainly dig that out.
Joy's about to jump out of her
Okay.
chair and tell us.
I figured you might be able to tell me.
There was a report in the news.
You want to come to the
You're gonna
microphone,
come to the
Joy?
mic so that the folks at home can hear
Oh,
your
sorry.
beautiful voice.
There was a report in the fall newsletter. We need to update one of those numbers. The savings for the buildings were not quite as much as we thought, but all of the savings, both in terms of dollars and pollution avoided for the streetlights and for the fleet
Okay.
are accurate. And we're going to get the updated numbers
And
together as
they're
soon as.
hybrid, correct? They're not strictly EV.
No, okay, here's where we are with the police fleet. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. We, starting in 2021, as a internal combustion engine police vehicle was retired, we started replacing each one with a hybrid. So we're pretty far through the police fleet at this point, and we're either, have we taken possession of the F-150 Lightning?
It's in quality control right now.
Is that total EV?
That's a
Totally
total.
Total EV.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, so just from a engineering standpoint with EVs, so when you charge them, if you cruise at about 30 miles per hour, they kind of re-energize themselves. But when you're in a vehicle that goes fast, like a police cruiser would have to do, or a larger vehicle, that really cuts down, that really drains the energy very, very quickly. So I'm just wondering how cognizant you are of that going forward in your plans and what that would look like on a police force that's going to need to be, you know, completely charged all the time. So, you know, I know that this is not written in stone, but I would just like you to think about that as a company that is, I work for a company that's totally EV friendly. And, you know, it is a concern. There is an EV anxiety, I will tell you. It's a real thing. And I like these efforts and I applaud these efforts, but I just think that we really need to understand, because I think we're very ahead of the curve, you know, from a lot of townships in doing this type of transition.
Yeah, as far as the patrol cars, so everything's just hybrid. So
Yeah, I know,
so
it's
they're
just the
not an
one.
issue.
Right.
So we're very cognizant of, at the top of the list of priorities is making sure the police can do their job.
Sure.
So we're not going to rush into changing that unless we're
Mhm.
very sure that's going to work. The truck that's coming, that's an EV, is not a patrol car, so there's not the
Okay, I
the
just
same
wanted to make sure
concern
I
of-
understood that.
needing, you know, it's not 24 hours. It's-
Right, right. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
You can turn the Environmental Advisory Commission.
Oh, yeah, okay, sure. Well, I'm not an expert, but it is a passion of mine. That, and just sort of in the same vein, when we talk about our environment and, you know, keeping emissions down and a clean environment to live in here, there's an awful lot of trash that gets thrown around Springfield Township. I live on Station Avenue. I pick trash up every single day off my lawn. And I know I live across from a country club where stuff blows, but I know the Lions Club has a great effort to really clean up. And, you know, I just really would like to see some kind of effort somehow. I mean, the township workers do a great job, but we just see an awful lot of trash on the exit ramps of 309 getting on and off. And it's really disturbing to me because they're very close to water sources. So, you know, just wanted to put that out there since we were talking in the vein of, you know, being eco-friendly in all matters. I think that's something that we really need to consider as a township, whether it's a totally volunteer organization or what have you. But it's just been increasingly bad. So I just wanted to state that for the record. So thank you.
Yep, great. Thank you. Okay. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing, we'll close public comment and I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Please record a unanimous vote, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.